Hey, this is Doc Eric. Welcome to my YouTube neighborhood, the channel where we give you one mindset tip and one body set tip to take with you not only throughout to today's video, but also later in life as well. Today we're going to be talking about the 8 reasons why the scale seems to be going up. So let's jump in. So we've all had that experience where we've done everything perfect the day previous. You know, you ate well, you hydrated well, you exercised, you made sure that you get up and moved around all day, and then you hop on the scale and then you're shocked when the numbers are unflattering, right? How many people can relate to that? I know I have. So one of the first things that I always check in with people is if they're noticing that there are wild and consistent fluctuations in the scale. My first question to them is, whatever you're doing in terms of taking care of your body, are you being consistent with how you're taking care of your body, or are you trying to play catch up from the previous day? You know, are you trying to pay off yesterday's debt with tomorrow's money that has not arrived in your bank account yet? So these are some things that we want to look at first. So the first thing we want to talk about is water intake, right? We know that most people are typically dehydrated throughout the day, and especially if you're somebody who is in the fitness world, you know how important water is in terms of taking care of your body. So if you're under recovered in terms of your hydration, then that's going to affect the scale as well. We also know too that if you're somebody who's routinely eating a lot of vegetables, they contain carbohydrates in them as well. So as the name implies, carbohydrate meaning water. So if you didn't take in a lot of water that day, liquid water, but you know that you ate a lot of vegetables, that is a bit of a placeholder to help you offset the fact that you didn't drink as much water. So be on the lookout for that. The second thing we want to talk about, and this applies primarily to women, is the menstrual cycle. So we know that cyclically throughout the month, there are certain times where your body is going to start to retain water, and that's usually just due to the natural hormone shift in the body. So if you notice that as you're starting to approach your cycle, that the scale starts to fluctuate in ways that you don't like, just know that on the back end of that process, you're going to start to normalize. So always kind of look at the before and the after, and don't worry so much about the stuff in between. If, for example, you happen to find yourself stress eating, then that's something to pay attention to, because those extra calories are going to create inflammation into the body, and where you started cycle and then where you end up might be a little bit higher, as opposed to try to maintain as best you can. So just watch out for that too. Third thing we want to talk about is sleep and the consistency with sleep. This can make at least a pound or two of difference. We all know the importance of sleep, and the lack of it can affect our stress hormones as well as our cortisol level as well. Making sure that you're getting adequate rest is important because it allows the body to heal and repair, and also it's going to help to kind of clear out the body as well. So the next time you wake up and go to the bathroom, your body's detoxing, it's going to pull a little bit of water out with it, but it's doing so in a productive way. The fourth thing we want to talk about is digestion. Particularly what kind of bowel movements are you having? Are you somebody who goes regularly 1 to 3 times a day, or are you a little bit bound up and you're going maybe once every other day or once every 2 or 3 days, right? So this typically comes down to the food choices that we're making, but also the food choices that we're not making. If you find that your body tolerates certain foods more than other foods, you may have to start to cycle in certain foods and cycle out certain foods in order to help offset that, and these can have a fluctuation in the weight scale as well. This can be things like gas and bloating, but it could also affect the body in other ways as well. I know that for me, I don't typically tolerate dairy well, so if I know that I have something that is dairy based the night before I go to bed, I'll notice that I'll wake up the next day, I'll look a little bit puffier, I'll feel a little bit more inflamed, and that's usually reflected in the scale as well. So I know that going in, so when I step on the scale and see that number fluctuate, I know that if I took that thing out from the following day, I should start to feel better. So these are things to check out as well for yourselves. The fifth thing we want to talk about is sodium intake. So sodium is important because it typically finds its way sneakily into the foods that we eat, particularly if you're getting packaged or processed foods. My personal preference is to always be consistent with your sodium intake. You know, don't try to offset one day by over consuming the following day to kind of balance things out. That really starts to throw off your body in terms of kidney function, making your body work harder than it needs to. So just be consistent throughout the day. And also look at where you're getting your sodium from. Are you somebody who's eating a lot of packaged and processed foods? Are you eating luncheon meats? Did you switch brands of luncheon meats? So always don't forget to take a peek at that label on the back of the food that you're buying and see if the sodium levels have changed, or if you buy one lunch meat to another, see if that sodium is different as well. Sodium as it pertains to athletes. Athletes can typically consume a little bit more sodium than the average individual, just because of the way that they're running their bodies and working their bodies. They sweat more, they're depleting their levels more, so you may want to make sure that you're staying on top of your replenishing of sodium in that capacity as well. All right, number 6, we're talking alcohol here. So we also want you to remember that always, allow yourself to be social, don't deprive yourself, but also know that when you consume alcohol, when your body and the kidneys start to eliminate it, it's going to start to pull water with it. If you're somebody who consumes more than 1 or 2 drinks in an evening, what that's going to do is that's going to make you more dehydrated the following day. It's going to have a negative impact on your sleep. It's going to spike cortisol levels. And then you may find out that the next day you are less motivated to work out. You may feel more prone to sleep in, and you're going to feel under recovered starting the next day. So if you're looking to be consistent with your health and your lifting goals, you're going to start to notice that you may start skipping workouts, or you're not able to put forth that effort that you once did. So number 7, we're talking about cortisol levels. This is important because it's a stress hormone that we have in all of our bodies. So we want to make sure that we are managing our anxiety levels, and we can also nullify this by getting adequate levels of sleep, right? So don't forget to hit those Z's. All right, the 8th and final one, we are talking about delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. Typically what that is this is post-exercise soreness. You have exercised hard, maybe you were working a lot, you did a lot of physical activity that day, but regardless of what you did, what ends up happening is you are having micro tears in the muscle tissues. That micro tear is inflammation based, and what ends up happening is with inflammation, your body starts to bring in more fluid, more healing factors into the area. So you may start to notice that even though you're working out as hard as possible, you got extra sleep, you've been staying on top of your nutrition, you may look a little bit more puffy when you look at your body composition, and also it might be reflected in the scale because your body's going to retain a little bit more water because as the body heals and it starts to detox, it's going to start to pull moisture out with it as well, but first it has to swell before it can start to heal. So as your body works through this inflammatory response to heal the muscle tissue, you're going to notice that the scale stays up until the damage is repaired, and then you'll start to notice your body starts to go back down. Okay, so those are the 8 tips that typically are responsible for the scale going up. It's not always dietary related, but it can also be lifestyle and movement related as well. So don't forget to share in the comment section below what things that you've noticed that have negatively impacted the scale for you, but also some things that have positively impacted the scale as well. We learn best by sharing, so go ahead and share down below. Love to read those comments, and it also helps future viewers down the road as well. And lastly, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. I love getting new visitors to our channel. It helps me help you guys generate more content. I love shooting the video, and I know that you guys enjoy watching the content as well. And until next time, stay healthy.